Hey guys, welcome back to the Joy of Wrenching. I'm your friendly neighborhood mechanic, and today we've got this 2013 Hyundai Santa Fe, and it's got an error message on the dash that says the door is open, and it's talking about this rear passenger door. It says it's open all the time. Even when it's shut completely, it still says the door is open. Why is that a problem? Well, the dome light stays on inside of there, and then it runs down the battery overnight. So we're going to show you how to repair the problem, which is the door latch. So in this video, I'm going to show you step by step in excruciating detail how to get that door latch out of the rear doors on a Hyundai Santa Fe. This will go for 2013 to 2018, even newer models as well. So come along and let's get into it. Okay, so here's the problem. We've got this error message saying the door is open, talking about that rear passenger door, but obviously this thing is not open and it is not ajar either. So this is a problem because that dome light stays on, and then whenever you turn everything off eventually, this little light down here stays on, and then you can't use your key fob and it just runs down the battery. So let's get to it and fix it. Some of the tools you're going to need in order to perform this job are going to be some pry tools of different types, maybe a panel pin puller here. I like these panel separation tools. You can put back behind that door panel and pop it away. Little mini screwdriver here, maybe some picks. You're going to need Phillips head screwdriver, a T30 Torx, and 10 millimeter socket. Now I like these kind because they've got a really strong magnet so that you don't drop anything down inside that door. You might also find that you'll need some needle nose pliers, and because I'm going to be using my impact, I've got the screwdriver and the Torx and the 10 millimeter set up to go into the impact. Another thing you're going to need, we're going to have to get that window up and out of our way, and to hold it up there we're going to use a little bit of tape, so get you some tape as well. So before we get into the repair, let me show you what's going on with this door and why it's causing this problem. And then also I want to show you how you can fix it in a pinch, just temporarily, mind you, if it happens to you. So what's going on with this door is it latches just fine. So this latch right here, whenever we close the door, this latch comes over and it grabs hold of this little striker. It kind of pinches around it like this and grabs hold, and that's what keeps your door shut. The problem is that over time, these Hyundai door latches get a lot of play inside of them. You see how loosey-goosey this thing is? Let me demonstrate with this screwdriver what happens when we close the door. Imagine the screwdriver is the latch or the striker. So you close the door and that striker comes and it gets encaptured by the latch here. But you see how much play is in there? Because of that play right there, the door doesn't know that it's fully shut, and that's why you get that error message on the dash. So if the problem is that this thing has got too much play in it and it doesn't recognize that it's fully closed, the fix, again, just temporarily, is to take you some electrical tape and then come over here to your striker, and just on the front portion of the striker right here, wrap electrical tape around it and make it a little bit fatter. It might take about 10 rounds or so of electrical tape, but what that'll do is it will take up all of that slack and all of that loosey-goosiness in this latch down here when you close that door, and it'll turn off that door ajar light. So that electrical tape fix on the striker here is just a temporary thing, and you'll have to replace that tape over and over again, and eventually you're going to get tired of that. And so you're going to want to fix this thing permanently. And so let's get started and show you how to do that. In order to get to this latch, we're going to have to take off our door panel here. And it is held on by a couple of screws and a bunch of push pins. The first screw that we're going to have to get to is actually under this door handle pull. Get you a little screwdriver or a pick or something and get this little plastic piece out like that, and there's a little Phillips screw right underneath there. And so you'll get your Phillips screwdriver, go ahead and remove that screw. There you go. There's also one more screw holding on this door, and it lives right behind that trap door. So get you a little screwdriver and come into the top here and open up that trap door to get access. Again, Phillips screw, so we'll go ahead and pop that out of there. Set that aside. Now that the screws are removed, one inside of the door pull, one inside of the little handle here, the only thing holding this door panel in place are a bunch of push pins around the edge. And to get to those, we're gonna pop them out with a pry tool. And they've been nice enough to put a little gap right down here that we can start with. And so you'll get you a pry tool of some kind. And you'll go into that little gap and you'll just start moving along, kind of popping, pulling away on those things. Like I said, one of the things I like to use is a panel separator. You can set that in there the same way, just squeeze on the handle and it'll pop those little clips loose. And again, just work your way around the edge, popping those little clips loose, and you'll feel them where they're located. And at some point, you'll get enough of them loose to where you can kind of get your hands back behind there and just pull it away with your hands, just like that. All right, you see how we got to the point where the whole thing just kind of wiggles like that? That's when you know that you've got all of those push pins out of the way. In order to remove the door panel now, we're gonna have to get this little triangle piece out of the way. And so you can take you a little pry tool of some kind, put it back behind there, and just pop it loose. There's a couple of little push pins in here, I'll show you, right there, that just pop loose, and then you can set this aside. Now that all the push pins are released from the door panel, we've removed our little triangle here in the corner. It should be able to just wiggle and pull up, and it'll come right off, okay? And then look back behind here, and you'll see that there's a couple of connectors. We have these cables which actuate the door opening and the door lock, and those can be removed just by this little tab right here. Take your finger and pull it in, and then the whole thing just slides right up and out of the way. You can also remove this electrical connector. It's a pinch and squeeze sort of thing, but we don't want to do that quite yet, because one of the things we have to do to get to that latch and everything is we're going to have to raise our window up out of the way. And so we're going to leave this plugged in. I've got the car turned on, and I want to show you how to raise the window and where to raise the window to in order to get this next piece of the puzzle done. Just take your door panel, it's still plugged in. We can just raise it up like this, kind of up and out of our way, and then look right here. There is a little plug that you can remove with your finger. Set that aside, and now I'm going to come up here to my door, and to my window, and I'm going to raise it up. And you can look inside that hole, and you want to raise it up until you can see the mounting screw. There it is. That's when you stop. Now we can go ahead and remove our door panel electrical connector, and then put the door panel to the side. So we'll come back here, and like I said, just a little white tab there, pinch it, squeeze it, wiggle, and away she goes. To get to the guts of our door latch and handle assembly, we're going to have this window out of our way completely. We've raised it up to this point so that we can see this little bolt that retains it through this hole right here, okay? And you can see the window itself is up about, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches or so. So then get yourself your magnetic 10mm socket, stick it in there, and take that bolt out. Don't lose that. Now the window is loose, and you can just take it and pull it up. Now notice when you do so, it'll kind of stay on its own, but it'll kind of slowly creep back down. You don't really have to worry about it sliding all the way back down and breaking into a bunch of million little pieces. But we're going to take some tape now, and we're going to raise this window up all the way to get it completely out of our way. Now we're going to take some tape. It's where that blue tape, that blue painter's tape, comes in handy. And we're just going to come over the top, over the back, and you want to make sure that you get 4 or 5 inches worth of tape down that window in a couple of different places. And this will keep it from ever want to fall down on you. And we'll just do 3, just because that's a lucky number. We'll do 3 layers of tape. There we go. And that'll keep that window up and out of our way completely. Okay, so now that the window is completely up and out of our way, the other thing that's going to be part of this process that kind of gets in your way is this outer door handle right here has to come off. In order to get this thing loose and out of our way, we need to get to this access plug right here on the end of the door, a little plastic plug, and just pry that out, set it aside, and then look inside of that hole right there, and you'll see a 10mm screw way back in the back there. And you got to kind of go in with your 10mm or a Phillips all the way back there. Hopefully you guys can see that. And you're going to loosen that screw up. I'm using my magnetic 10mm, and what you'll do is you're going to loosen it up, and you'll notice that it just free turns at some point, and there's some little plastic fingers that'll hold onto that screw, and it won't let it come completely out. But once you've got it out of its threads, then you come around to the front here, and what you've done is you've released this piece. So in order to get that off, just pull out on the door handle a little bit, and then just wiggle this piece out. That screws in right there. And so now that you've undone those threads, it allows this to slide out. And you can see right inside of here where that screw is, and just a few of those threads still sticking out. Okay, so now that this is out of the way, the other portion of this door handle needs to come off, and all you got to do is take it and slide it backwards towards the back of the vehicle, and it will kind of click back. Then you just pull it up and out, just like so. Now set these pieces aside. Now our outer door handle is out of the way. There's a screw right here with a Phillips head on it that needs to be removed. A real long, skinny one. Look at that. But set that thing aside. And then in order to release the rest of the inner part of our outer door handle, you just need to push in on this plastic piece right here a little bit. There you go. There's a little tab right here, and you may have to use your finger to kind of push that tab in. See how that loosens this up? And then there's little fingers right here on the back portion that need to slide towards the front of the vehicle. So once this is pushed in on this side, you can push the whole thing forward, and those fingers will come off of the door skin right where they were holding on. And now the whole assembly is loosey-goosey inside of the door, and we can go and continue removing the rest of the inner door panel. Okay, so we've got our outer door handle completely removed. The inner portion of it is loose. Now we're going to come around to the end of the door to the retaining bolts that hold the latch in place. Those are T30 Torx. So just buzz these 3 screws out and retain them, because you're going to need them to install the new one. Now that outer door handle is out of the way, we have released the latch itself. We can go ahead and move on to this inner door panel. It's held in place by 9 10mm screws, and so you get your socket and buzz those out. You don't have to worry about the door panel falling off in this case. They tend to stay on this vehicle. But a lot of them, you might want to work your way from the bottom up towards the top so it doesn't just fall off in front of you. Ask me how I know. There we go. Set those aside. And now, this inner door panel, see how it's not wanting to just fall off. It's got a rubber sort of seal, a gasket sealing it to the metal portion of our door. And so you might find that you need to get your little pry tool again and kind of get back behind it and just kind of pry it away. You'll hear it kind of release. You hear that gasket releasing. There we go. Nice. And just work your way around the perimeter. There we go. And eventually you'll get to the point where you can take the whole thing and it'll just sit there like that. But you can grab hold of it, lift it up a little bit, and pull the back side towards you, and it'll be loose, just like so. So we've got all 9 of the bolts around this plastic inner door release now. We can lift up on the back, pull it out, and I want to show you what we've got to work with on the inside here. So you can see that there's a electrical wiring here that's still tethered to our door. But the other thing I wanted you to see is look over here. Let me get you inside of here. Look inside of here. See, here's the inner portion of our outer door handle, and notice how it's on that side of this window track. And the rest of our door latch is over here on this side of the window track. So this window track has to be removed or at least loosened so that we can kind of get it out of the way and maneuver all of this around it. So that's the next step. Okay, so in order to get all of the guts of the latch and the outer door assembly out of here, we're going to have to remove this window track that runs along inside the door panel right here. In order to do that, there are 3 bolts, well, 2 bolts and a nut that hold it in place. Those are 10 millimeter, so go ahead and remove those. Okay, set these bolts aside for later. Now, we can take our door panel, you lift up on it a little bit, and then pull the inside towards you. Now look inside of here, and you can see, here's our window track that we just talked about having to remove. So you can take that window track, and you can pull it in towards the inside of the door, and then come up here, and you'll see that it's attached up here by a little bit of rubber gasket. Just wiggle that sucker loose. There you go. And then, now that it's loose, you can take the track itself from inside, pull it down, and go ahead and remove it completely from the car. See, that's how it was inside of there. We just went ahead and snaked it out. The reason why we had to remove it is because it's on the inside around all of this plastic. And so this is in the way of getting our door latch and door handle out. Now that that's out of the way, look how easy this is. Look how easy this is. We just drag it back, tilt it out, and there you go. We now have access to our door latch assembly. See, there it is. There's the latch on the outside and the inner portion of our outer door handle. And all of this can now come off of the door panel itself. Now that everything's outside of the door, it's a lot easier to see and work with. And so right now is a good time to take some pictures of how all of this stuff goes together. Okay? And what we've got to do in order to get this portion, which is the portion, the latch, that we're actually replacing off of the door panel, is look back here how this thing is attached. And you see there's this little trident, these little 3 fingers that kind of hold on to it. And all you got to do is kind of wiggle the latch assembly and it comes right off of those 3 fingers. Also attaching this latch is this little electrical connector. Just pinch, squeeze, and it comes loose. Now the latch and the door handle are one, and the only thing remaining holding this latch in place is these cables right here. And so as you can see, there's little rubber grommets that they go through, and then they come all the way over here to that little plastic piece that we had taken loose from the door panel. In order to get these things out of here, all you do is just snap them out of their little holders, just like so. You can't get them in the wrong place, and then turn it as an angle and it'll come out. See how one's longer than the other? This one goes on the bottom, the shorter one goes on top. And we'll set this aside. Now the only other thing that we've got to work on is getting these cables out of here. And you can see that they don't want to come through these little grommets. Those grommets come with the new part, so just push these through the door panel, just like that. And then out comes the entire part, just like that. And you've got your old door latch out of the way. We'll just set this part right back in for now, just so it doesn't have to be held up. There we go. And we'll go ahead and we'll replace this outer door, this door latch, and we're going to reuse this portion here, which is the inner door handle. Okay, so we've got our latch assembly and our outer door handle assembly out of the door. Much easier to work on here. And so in order to get these two pieces apart, we're going to go ahead and we're going to reuse our outer door handle, and we're going to replace just the latch. As you can see, these two are held together by a couple of little pins right here. So just push them in and out, and then you can grab the plastic and kind of wiggle it and kind of pull on it, and it'll kind of come out just like that. Now the only other thing that's holding these two together is this cable right here. And the cable comes in through the top. It's retained right here in this little slot. And then there's a wire that goes down, and there's a ball inside. There's a ball inside of that black thing. Let me show you a different angle of that. Look at it from the back. See the ball down inside of there? Yeah, you can see that now. Okay, so what we got to do is we've got to rotate this. We've got to release it first. So we're going to pop it loose, just like that. And then we're going to rotate it down, like so, so that the wire is lined up horizontally like this. Now that wire can allow that ball to come out the side, because there's a little gap in that black thing for that wire to slide in. And then you see how that popped right out, and then put it right back in. We just go right out this side like that. Just like there. Okay, now we've got our handle assembly loose and our old door latch. We're ready for the new door latch. Okay, so here's our old door latch. Here's our new one. Just make sure that you compare the two. And remember, our old one is all loose and floppy in here. The new one's nice and tight, so that's a good sign. But make sure all the connection points are the same. Make sure that the electrical connector's in the same place, got the same pins, all the same cables. Notice also that the new one comes with these new rubber grommets, so there's nothing on the old part that we need to steal and put on the new part in order to use it. First thing we want to do is reconnect our outer door handle to our door latch. So take your cable, this short one at the top, and remember it's got to come down through here, and we're just going to feed it in right down through here, and it's going to snap into, hopefully you guys can see this, it's got to snap that ball into, let me show you a different angle, it's got to snap that ball into that black thing, just like that. There we go. And then the cable itself, we have to snake around and over, and then clip in place right here, and it clips in place right here on the plastic, just like so. And then remember, it has that loop to it. We just let it loop around, and we take these little plastic fingers right there, and they stab in and hold on to the latch right here. So push that together and wiggle and push, and eventually it'll just click into place just like that. Okay, now this part, this cable needs to be tethered right into that little holder right there. So just take the cable, come around, and make sure that it gets held right through there. There we go. You just want to make sure it gets held right through there. It keeps it out of harm's way. Now this piece is ready to go back together. Now that the outer door handle is reattached to our new latch, we can go ahead and take this door panel off of here, and we can reattach this portion to it. So the first thing to do is going to be to put our cables back through the holes. So there's these two holes right here that they come up and through. Remember, you got a long one and a short one on the end of these cables. The longer one goes on the bottom, so you'll feed that through that bottom hole, and then the shorter ferrule goes through the top one. You take those two cables, just feed them through. Uh-oh. Almost got it all tangled up in the twist. Don't twist this thing up. There we go. All right, got it straightened out. Okay, make sure that those don't get tangled up. All right, so those are through now. And then the part that holds the latch to the door panel is actually these 3 little white plastic fingers, and they just come back here and snap it into place. So just put it through there, wiggle, and you'll feel it snap into place. The next part that you don't want to forget is our electrical connector right here. So take that electrical connector, let me show you from the front here, and just plug it into your new latch, just like so. You want to hear that satisfying click letting you know that these two are together. So there it is. Okay. The other thing that you want to make sure you do is take your little rubber grommets and push those up and through these holes. Just kind of pull on it from the front and it'll pop into place, and you can kind of use your finger from the back side to kind of make sure that it goes into place. And see, that's what it looks like when it's in the right place. Now we'll take this lower one, work it towards the front, grab hold of it just like so, and just kind of pull on it a little bit. Work it from the back with your finger and it'll seat. There we go. All right. This thing is ready to go back into the door now. Latch is attached to our inner door panel here. Outer door handle is attached to it as well. And we'll go ahead and put it back in the door. So in order to do that, just a reverse of how it came out, we're just gonna find whatever angle you need to in order to get the guts to go inside of the door, just like so. And then just kind of line it up and work it over into that direction, and look right through here. You'll see that door latch start to line up, and that's how you know you're in the right place. There we go, just like that. Okay, now this thing just sort of sits there. It just sits on a little lip right there, and you know you're lining up if this latch is in the right place, and you can look through these holes and start to see that those holes are lining up as well. Now that we know that everything's going to line up when we put this door panel in place, we saw that the latch kind of lines up over here, we can go ahead and reinstall our window slide, which goes right through here. So what you do is just take the door panel off from the back here just a little bit, and you can see inside of there. You just take that window slide and just kind of feed it back up the way that it came out. And it might take a little bit of finagling, but you'll see right through this triangle section over here, you'll start to see the top of it, and you can grab hold of the top of it and pull it up there, and you see how the bolt hole starting to line up. You can take that and pull it up there, and then just take the plastic rubber gasket here and reattach that. And then take the bottom part, line everything back up to where it was. And this bottom portion here just needs to come over just a little bit more. There we go. You'll feel it kind of fall into place, and this stud down here will come popping through. Watch that stud. When you get it in the right location, that stud will come popping through. There you go. And you notice that the stud is through here, and then look at this hole right here. You'll see the threads through that hole and the threads through that hole, and that's how you know that it's back in its location, and you can go ahead and put your screws and nuts back in place. All right, so we've got this inner door window track lined up just like I showed you, and then once it's in place, take your nut, just kind of get it started on that stud right there. And then you can take your door panel and kind of let it go back into place, and it'll hold itself. That way you can get these bolts started to hold that window track in place. The main thing about this window track is just make sure that the holes line up and that you put this rubber gasket back around the plastic right there. You can go ahead and, now that these are started by hand, we'll go ahead and tighten them up. And it doesn't have to be gorilla tight or anything, just tight. Okay, so now we've got our door panel just sort of resting here. Like I showed you, this thing, you set it in place, it just kind of rests here. We've got our window track back in place. We're seeing that the door latch is lining up over here. So let's look at this outer door handle and see how things are lining up out here. So the outer door handle looks like it's lining up pretty good, but remember, we got to get these little fingers over the door skin. So all you got to do is just slide it back, and you see how those fingers get over the door skin? And then this side over here, just lift up and pull out, and that little finger right there will come out of that hole. And as long as all these fingers are in the right place, you can get your screw and go over here and reattach the retaining screw that holds the guts of this door handle in place. This too doesn't have to be super tight. Now we can put the door handle back in. And the door handle goes in just the same way as it came out. You want to take this portion and go in, and then take the back portion and just go straight in like that. Make it flush with the door, and then push it towards the front of the vehicle, and it'll just snap into place. Then we take the rest of the door handle and we're going to put it back into this hole. So come in here with your finger and just push that little screw back so that there's not, let me see if I can push it back your way. See how that screw's exposed like that? That's going to get in the way of this going back in place. So what you got to do is just put your finger in here and push that screw until it's flush with that plastic. Now this piece right here, pull on your door handle just a little bit, and then just take this piece, put it behind it, and it just goes into place like that. And then you can come back in through this little hole with your 10 millimeter. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll come back in there with our 10 millimeter and tighten up that screw to hold that door handle permanently back in place. There we go. Now, don't forget your little rubber grommet that goes over that hole. It keeps things from falling down inside of there. And that is the outer door handle replaced. Outer door handle's back in place. So now it's time to take our 3 T30 screws and attach our new door latch in place. So just get these started by hand and then just tighten them up. See how it just sort of locks it into its perfect positioning? And these don't have to be super tight either. There we go. All right, we're really getting to the end of it now, guys. This is good. So the only thing really left is we got these cables that we need to put back into their retainer. And like I showed you before, they only go one place. The upper one goes into this track, so just put it in there at an angle and then turn it and then push the little retainer until it clicks into place. Lower one, same thing. Put it in at an angle, turn it, and it'll go into those little tracks right there, and then push the retainer until it clicks in place. That's that. Now we're ready to go ahead and reattach this door panel with the 9 10 millimeter screws around the outside. Okay, I've got my 9 10 millimeter screws, and you know, the door panel just sort of sets in the right place, so all these screws line up. So just pick a spot to start and start putting it back together. You can bounce around one side to the other, upper, lower, doesn't matter. Just make sure you get them all back in. Really enjoy having this magnetic bit. That way you don't drop them all the time. We're fixing to reattach our window, and that's where you really need this magnetic bit. Last one, holding the inner door panel. There we go. Inner door panel is secure. Now it's time for us to put our window back into the track that it sits in. So go ahead and take your tape off. I'm gonna go ahead and leave one of them on there for now, just so it doesn't go falling down and crashing and burning, but I'll show you here. And I'll show you that that window doesn't want to just crash and burn. I'm holding it right now. I've taken all the tape off, but I'm going to let go of that window. You see how it's just real slow falling down right there. That's because there's a little bit of tension with these door sweeps left in place, and I would recommend you leave these door sweeps in place. So now we just take the window and push it down, and you'll feel it come to a positive stop. Just push it down and you'll feel it come to a positive stop. When you feel that, then you know it's going to be ready to screw back in down here, and that'll be lined up. So take the one retaining screw and your magnetic 10mm socket. This is where it's important to have a magnetic one. You don't want it falling down in the door and getting lost now. Just line it up. There you go. Now that window is attached to the mechanism. So look back in that hole, and I'm going to move the window up and down. You see how it's moving the whole mechanism? That's how you know it's attached correctly. And then take your little rubber grommet, put that back in place over that hole. And we are ready, fellas, to put the pretty door panel back in place. Inner door panel's in place, cables are through, grommets are in place, windows back in its track. Everything on the inside of this door is ready, and we're ready for the pretty portion of our inner door panel. But when we pulled it off, and you're gonna find this, whenever I pulled it off, some of these little keepers, these little push pins broke. They get real brittle, and that they hold on really good. So we're gonna have to pop these old ones out of here. See how brittle they are? We'll have to pop these out of here and replace them. But you can see what they look like. And I'll put a link in the description to a kit or two that has these replacement ones in there. But you'll have to replace some of them if they break, and they will. So just be ready for that. So just get your little trim tool back behind it like this, a little pry tool. Pop them out. There we go. Okay, so let's put our door panel back in place. As I showed you, some of these little push pins remained in the door and broke off. And so if that happens to you, which it probably will, just take some of the new ones and just slide them in place of the ones that are missing around the edge of your door panel. So just go around, you'll see these little attachment points where they're missing from. Just replace any of them that need to be replaced. In this case, it looks like I had about 4 of them that busted off. No big deal. All right, now we are ready to put this door panel back in place. Okay, we got all of our push pins in place. We're ready to put this door panel back up into its position. And so the first thing that we're going to do is take our electrical connector here for the switches and just put that in place. And you want to hear that satisfying click. Let's listen for it. There it is. Okay, the only other thing that attaches these rear doors is our actuator cables. In order to put them back in place, you just take this and you'll see those little black tabs on the end right here. These little black tabs stab in right there, and then rotate it. Now, it may not want to push into place, and if that's the case, you come around to the back side here, and you might have to move this door lock actuator just by hand. And by moving it, it'll allow you to push this thing home and snap it into place. Let me show you that again. So if it gets stuck right here and doesn't want to go completely closed, just move that little door locker and then it'll snap just like that. Once you have the connections made, take the top of your door panel and you want to hang it in the track, the window sweep track here on the back side. You see how that just kind of, it grips in there with these little, there's a lip, a ridge here, and it just grips in there and it holds in place. And as long as this little notch here and that hole are lined up, you can go around the perimeter and just pop your hand on there and snap all those little push pins back into place. There we go. And you will know that you got it in the right place if you look down inside of here and you see your screw hole lined up. And also, if you look inside of that door handle and see your screw hole lined up, you know the door panel is in the right place. Once those screw holes are lined up, just get your 2 retaining screws and put them back in. There's the one that goes down into the door pull here. And then there's the one that goes back behind this release handle right here. Line them up. There we go. And then don't forget to close your little trap door there. Hide that screw back behind it. And then don't forget the little plastic piece that goes over the top of this one down here. So just set that back in place. And the only other thing is you got this little corner piece, this little triangle. And it's got a little foot down here that has to go down behind the door panel. And then these little yellow clips will push and retain it in place. So there we go. So we've got all the parts of this door back together. The power is on. I've got the ignition to the on position. So test the window, make sure it goes up and down as it should, and it does. That lets you know that you don't have some binding in that window track or it somehow is off in any way. Now we need to see if the door handle is actually working. So we'll close it and open it. That's working. Now the true test of whether or not we did this right is going to be, does our door ajar, our door open error message still exist, or is it gone? So let's go look. Okay, well, let me turn this light off so you can see better. Okay, let me open the driver's door. As you can see, the driver's door is open. Driver's door is shut. And all the other doors are closed. Go ahead and open that one there, Mrs. C. So she's opened that one, and it's open, and it went away. And our dome light is no longer on. So I would say that we got her done. Well, there you go, guys. Hopefully you appreciate all those nitty-gritty details we tried to capture, because it can be a little fiddly inside of that door. But as you can see, it's not that bad when you do the process the way that I show. And we're always trying to show you the best and the easiest way here on The Joy of Wrenching. I appreciate you guys taking the time to tune in today. If we helped you out, hit that like, that subscribe button. Leave me a little comment down below about what part of this kind of hung you up, if any part. And hopefully after watching this, nothing does. Again, you guys, thanks for tuning in. Y'all have a wonderful day, and God bless.